Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mangus and today I'm making a very quick video to inform you guys that we got some leaks, predictions, guesses, spoilers, whatever you want to call them, about both Advanced Wars and Fire Emblem, two of my favorite games that are covered most on this channel, so I get to talk about them both in one video, which is pretty exciting. Now, a user by the name of Markomaro made a series of tweets, and they were very interesting. Now, if you don't know anything about Markomaro, he is a very famous leaker, I guess you could call him. He has a very good track record of getting a lot of games correctly. A lot of people think he may be either very good at guessing or he has some kind of inside source. I personally think he has some kind of inside source because while he is very good at guessing releases, he also gets some obscure titles. Like, for example, he predicted Famicom Detective Club. Not only did he predict it, he also predicted its release date. And that is just such a weird thing to predict. Like, everyone can say things like, oh, I think a new Zelda game is coming out in 2022, but to guess an obscure title like Famicom Detective Club, that leads me to believe that he has someone on the inside that he talks to regularly. Now, that doesn't mean that everything he says is true, but it means that he knows at least a little bit more than your average person, even though the sources are literally, bro, trust me. Anyway, depending on what you think about Markomaro, that's up to you. I'm not going to say that these leaks are true or not, but whenever Markomaro tweets about this kind of stuff, I think it warrants a video, because the things he says are very interesting. So I'm just going to read the whole tweet chain, starting at the top. So he says, great numbers and very positive results in a few hours with a few interesting tips and info for the future to look forward. Ninty, and by that he obviously means Nintendo, is very confident for the next fiscal year. Also, it is not a secret that they love to celebrate Nintendo Directs 1 to 2 weeks after the financial results. From April 2022 to March 2023, Nintendo has an insane lineup for Switch, making probably one of the best years for the console or any console in the past. This is also thanks to the many delays, public and internal, that the company carry since 2020 onwards for obvious reasons. He's clearly talking about the pandemic here. One of the better examples is Advanced Wars 1+2 that was pushed to spring 2022, even when they give a specific release date in the past, December 3rd, and they rarely delay a game with these conditions. By the way, the game is ready to shine with a demo very soon. Also, Fire Emblem has not one or two, but 3 games in development at this moment, with a spin-off, a remake, and a new game, some of them almost finished. Keep in mind that the remake was scrapped from the 3DS late in 2018 and redone for the Switch since, so they were working nearly 3.5 years on it. It will cover 2 old games in one with the Echoes subtitle again, and is more ambitious than Shadows of Valentia. The other Fire Emblem, in the other hand, will approach things in a less classic way, trying new things for the series similar to what Three Houses did. This game started development early 2020 with a bigger team than the upcoming remake. Oh boy, there is just so much to talk about with these tweets. Let's start with Advanced Wars. So he is saying that the game is ready to shine with a demo very soon. This leads me to believe that a trailer will be dropping probably within the next few weeks, or maybe there will be a Nintendo Direct where they will showcase more gameplay features. I personally am extremely hyped for this because we have seen so little of the reboot. In the original trailer, we only saw Advanced Wars 1 footage. We did not see a single Sia from Advanced Wars 2. And one of the reasons why I am so incredibly excited to see more footage is that, as you know, a guy approached me a little while back. He claimed to have worked with WayForward in developing Advanced Wars, and he gave me a ton of leaks. I'll link the video below if you want to go check it out. But since the leaks came after the trailer came out, it's not like he was able to give me any information that he wouldn't know otherwise. So, since a new trailer is about to drop, we might get to see new COs in that, and that will allow me to verify whether that leaker was legit or not. Because, of course, he told me a ton of things. He said that Lash, for example, she'd be like a big titty goth GF. He also predicted that Clone Andy would be playable with blue glowy eyes and stuff like that. So I am just incredibly excited to see any new footage from the reboot camp, because if it turns out that that guy was legit, that means that pretty much everything that I said in that video is probably going to be true. And a lot of the things that I heard from this guy was very promising. So if he actually turns out to be legit, I'm going to be very excited, because that means the reboot camp is probably going to be pretty awesome. Another reason why I think he's probably legit, and I'm talking about my leaker here, not Markomaro, is that he said at the time, before the delay was announced, that they had not worked on the multiplayer aspect of the game at all, and that they kept kicking the can down the road. He said that they had tons of problems with multiplayer and they weren't really able to fix it. And he said that it was just crazy how they just kept delaying it and just saying, oh, we're going to fix it next week. We're going to fix it next week. We're going to fix it next week. And then afterwards, they announced the delay. So he said this before the delay was announced. Go check the video if you don't believe me. So that actually leads me to believe that he is somewhat legit. So going to be very exciting to see this trailer that is dropping soon. And now let's move over to Fire Emblem. So not one, not two, but 3 Fire Emblem games. That is absolutely insane. We got a brand new title, a Fire Emblem spin-off, and a Fire Emblem Echoes game. And one of the things that I immediately noticed with this tweet right here, he says it's 2 old games in one. 2 in 1, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if Markomaro is legit and these leaks are correct, that means that we can narrow it down to 3 titles. Because why would they do 2 games in one unless they were remaking an old game that actually had 2 games dedicated to them? That means that we can completely rule out Sacred Stones, for example, because Sacred Stones only had 1 game. I also think it's safe to rule out the Arcanaya games. While there are 2 books in the Arcanaya games, they've remade them like a gazillion times at this point, and I don't see why they would go back and remake another Arcanaya game. It just wouldn't make a lot of sense to me. No, this means that we will either get an Echoes game of Fire Emblem 4 and Fire Emblem 5, or an Echoes game of Fire Emblem 6 and Fire Emblem 7, or, as I've been predicting, an Echoes game of Path of Radiance, but, unlike what I predicted, Radiant Dawn thrown in there as well. He says that it's going to be bigger than Shadows of Valentia, and that makes sense if they're actually doing 2 in 1. Now, personally, if I have to pick one of these 3 alternatives, I'm gonna have to go with the Tellius one. I think that they are remaking Path of Radiance, and now it seems, according to Markomaro, that they're throwing Radiant Dawn into the mix, so we're just gonna get a complete Tellius remake. However, I also think it's probably very likely that they're remaking Genealogy of the Holy War, and they're gonna throw Tracia 776 in there as well, probably as like a midquel or whatever you want to call it. Of course, if you don't know, Tracia takes place in between the 1st and 2nd generations of Fire Emblem 4. Now, if you ask me, I think this approach of putting 2 games in one is a terrible idea. I think that it's going to probably result in a worse product overall. Now, some of you guys may go, wow, isn't that good news, Mangs? Don't you want 2 games for the price of 1? But you see, if you know anything about video game development, you know that we're not getting 2 games for the price of 1. It's more likely that we're getting 2 halves of what could be 1 great game. It is not a good thing that they have to split their development resources between 2 games. And I personally think that the older games are so great that they deserve a remake completely dedicated to 1 title. Fire Emblem 4 is an absolute massive game with tons of story. It has huge chapters. It is a masterpiece of a game. And I think just remaking that game is a challenge in and of itself. If you throw Tracia in there, I don't really see it improving the product that much. I think you're just tacking on something that will just make you bite over more than you can chew. And this, I think, was one of the biggest problems with Three Houses. You guys remember how much that game got delayed and how many shortcuts they ended up having to take because they simply had too much content that they wanted to cram into 1 game? I think overreaching and being overambitious is a big problem here. At the same time, they have been working on this game for over 3.5 years, which means that the development process has been very lengthy. So maybe that is why it has taken so long for this game to come out, because they simply done too much. Now, this problem gets even worse if they're actually going to do a Tellius remake. Path of Radiance is a pretty long game. Radiant Dawn is a really long game. I mean, that game is so huge. It is bigger than any other Fire Emblem game. It has by far the biggest playable roster in the series, maybe if you exclude all the various Arcanaya characters, and it just has so many maps. It takes such a long time to play through. So yeah, if they're gonna do a remake of both Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn, that is going to be the biggest Fire Emblem game we have ever seen. And I can only hope that they're able to do them justice, because to me, it sounds like hell. I mean, just remaking Radiant Dawn sounds horrible in and of itself. Like, imagine how much work that has to be. And now they're going to throw Path of Radiance into the mix as well. On one side, I do think that this will make things like transfers a lot more fun. If you don't know, you could transfer your save file between Path of Radiance and into Radiant Dawn to give your characters a bit of a boost. I do hope that if they remake the game, they do something more with transfers. Maybe make them a little bit more exciting than just a +2 bonus to a stat. But yeah, no, this is incredible. I'm both excited and terrified at the same time if this ends up being the case. I think that right now, I think both alternatives are pretty likely to happen. We could either get a Drugdraw game with FE4 and FE5, or we could get a Tellius remake with FE9 and FE10. However, I still have not talked about the third option, which in my opinion is the least likely to happen, but it could still happen, and that is an Eleb remake, Fire Emblem 6 plus Fire Emblem 7. We know that the director of Shadows of Valentia, when he was asked, he said that he would love to remake Fire Emblem 6. And we also know that many of the same people who worked on the last Echoes game is also working on this one. So if it ends up having the same director and he actually had a say in it, I wouldn't be surprised if he said that he wanted to remake Fire Emblem 6, and maybe they thought that, okay, Fire Emblem 6 is a little bit boring on its own, let's throw Fire Emblem 7 in there as well. Of course, one of the perks of remaking Fire Emblem 6 is that it's a very popular game. It has a lot of popular character. Roy is very much loved in the series due to his appearance in Smash, but yet Fire Emblem 6 was never localized in the West. You have to download a translation patch if you want to play it, if you don't speak Japanese. And that is one of the reasons why I think that this could be the wild card. This could be the dark horse, the one that no one is expecting that might just suddenly creep up on us and just go, wow, Eleb remake, out of the blue. And I think that this would honestly be very exciting because, you know, the Eleb games, the GBA games are very dear to my heart. I would absolutely love to see a localized FE6. Now, I would love to see Fire Emblem return to a sprite-based system with gorgeous graphics instead of this weird 3D style that we've gotten in the later releases. So yeah, I think all of these three possibilities are likely, but of course, I'm basing this on the fact that Markomaro is legit and not just guessing. So what do you guys think? Do you think he's legit or do you think he's just guessing? Let me know in the comment section below. Now, moving on to his prediction about the new Fire Emblem game, which apparently is going to take a lot of risks and try new things, similar to what Three Houses did. I am not surprised that they're going this route. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a Three Houses sequel or a Three Houses prequel, considering how successful Three Houses was and how many copies it sold. In case you don't know, it is now the #1 selling Fire Emblem game of all time. It even eclipsed giants like Fates and Awakening. So the fact that they want to try and capitalize on that success and try new things, I think that's probably very likely. I'm a little bit nervous because I have a feeling that they're going to take a lot of aspects that I personally didn't like about Three Houses and expand upon them. I think it's going to be very dating sim oriented. I think we're going to see more features like a monastery. I think you're going to add a lot of elements that may not feel like Fire Emblem to a lot of people into the next Fire Emblem game to try and make it appeal to a wider audience. And while this is undoubtedly good for Fire Emblem as a franchise, I personally have a feeling like the next game might alienate some of the veterans, because at the end of the day, the reason why we play Fire Emblem is because we love Fire Emblem. We don't love all this other stuff that they tack onto our Fire Emblem games. We kind of reluctantly accept it. Now, and a bit of an analogy for this, the way I see it is, imagine you really like cheeseburgers, right? And there's only one place in your town that serves them. But when you go and you order the cheeseburger, you get a bunch of stuff on it that you don't like. A bunch of pickles, tomatoes, ketchup, dressing, just a bunch of stuff that you don't want on there. And you can take them off the burger, but you can't completely get rid of the tastes, but you kind of just like reluctantly eat it just because you love the cheeseburger. That's how I feel about modern Fire Emblem. I just want the cheeseburger. I don't want all the other shit in it, but I don't have a choice. I get served the cheeseburger with all the stuff in it, or I don't get served the cheeseburger at all. So, but either way, I am excited to see where they're going to take the series. As I said, I think a prequel or a sequel to Three Houses is pretty likely here, but something tells me it's going to feel less and less like Fire Emblem with every new release. Now, as for this Fire Emblem spin-off game, I'm going to be completely honest, guys. I don't care. I haven't cared about a Fire Emblem spin-off since the release of Warriors, and I played it a little bit on my channel and I stopped caring after like 3 parts of my Let's Play. I even ended the Let's Play halfway through because I just didn't like it. Now, I don't mean to hate on Fire Emblem Warriors if there's some of you out there that really love the game, but for me, these Fire Emblem spin-offs do nothing for me. Just because it has Fire Emblem in it doesn't mean that I automatically like it. There must also be Fire Emblem gameplay for me to actually be interested. So on that one, I'm not even going to speculate because I don't care. And when you don't care, you don't make for a very good speculator. But if you guys have any idea what this supposed Fire Emblem spin-off might be, let me know about it in the comment section below. And yeah, maybe some of you will guess correctly. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so that was a very exciting lineup of news. I hope that they are legit. The only thing I'm not hoping for is the fact that they're going to put 2 games in one. That makes me very concerned. Otherwise, I think we're going to get a very exciting year in 2022. I think we're going to start to see the trailers drop very soon. I'm estimating that we're going to get a Nintendo Direct very soon as well, and that it will be filled with amazing news for both Advanced Wars and Fire Emblem. It's going to be very good for anyone who watches this channel, me included. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. My name is Mengs, and if there's any further news, you can bet that I will cover them on the day they get released. So subscribe for more of that. See you guys. Bye-bye.